Hey everybody, it's Dana Joy. Thanks for stopping back by today. I'm going to show you a very cool way to make a background for cards. I know some of us, like myself, are a little bit behind on getting out Christmas cards, so I needed to do something that was quick, easy, and fun that I can mass produce because I'm just too far behind right now. So let me show you how to get started on this. And it's really simple and really easy to do. It does not require a lot of materials, and you'll be able to make a bunch of these in no time flat. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you what I did. Look at these really cool marbled backgrounds. And this is just using glossy paper, some ink, water, and alcohol. Isn't that pretty cool? And each time that you do this, you're going to get a total different effect every time you do it because your ink is going to move quite differently on each piece that you have. So I really loved how these came out, and I'm going to show you a quick and easy way how to do these and get them done pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, what you need to start with is some basic glossy paper. This paper here, I believe I had picked up from like Stampin' Up, and I've had this paper forever. So you can use this kind of paper or video paper, whatever kind of paper that gives you a kind of a glossy, slick surface on it is going to be the right kind of paper that you're going to use for this because this gives a nice reflection on it as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Very minimal supplies. So I'm going to actually use some gloves because the last time I did this last night, I got a whole bunch of ink all over my hands, and I have a special event to go to on Saturday, and I want to look cute and I don't want to go out with having ink stains all over my hands. So I'm just going to use those gloves to keep my hands protected. Otherwise, you can get as messy as you want. I'm going to use some distressed ink. This one is Fired Brick and Shabby Shutters. I'm going to use two colors, and then I'm also going to use some of these cute little dewdrops. I love these Memento dewdrops, as you can tell, so I'm going to go ahead and pick out a few of these, and I'm going to show you that one there is pear tart and bamboo leaves. I have some alcohol, and I also have some water and just those little spray misters. So to get started, all I'm going to do is just grab one of the ink bottles, and you're just going to drop a little bit of ink on your craft mat. You don't need a lot. It's going to go a long distance. And I'm going to go ahead and drop down my second color. And I'm not going to put them right next to each other or too close. I'm going to give them some space. Now I'm going to use alcohol this time, and I don't want to spray directly on top. I want to kind of spray off to the side a little bit. So I'm just going to add a couple squirts of the alcohol. The alcohol is actually going to move that ink for me. I'm going to get my area kind of wet, not saturated, but just a little bit wet with that alcohol. So you can kind of see it's moving a little bit. And I'm just going to grab one of my tools that I use for my silhouette, and I'm just going to start smearing that ink a little bit. I'm not going to like mix them together because they might come out a little bit muddy, but I'm just going to move them around a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and clean that off, my little knife off, because I don't want ink to stain that. And now all you're going to do is grab your paper, and you want to make sure you have the shiny side, not the dull side, the shiny side facing down towards the ink. So all you're going to do is just lay it on the top and kind of move the paper through the ink. And you're going to see this really cool. Look at that, really cool technique. And because it's still kind of wet, it's going to drip a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my heat gun, and the heat gun is also going to help move that ink around. So look at the reflection of that. It kind of looks like really glossy, almost like glass. I really love this technique. And you don't have to worry about if you miss spots. All you have to do is just drag your paper right back through it again. So of course it's going to add a little bit more color and a little bit more of the marble to the paper as well. So again, just make sure between like each step you kind of heat set it so it doesn't have you're just not continuously mixing the water all the way around. So I'm just going to go ahead and dip in a little bit more to cover those edges. And look at this gorgeous, gorgeous piece of paper. I love the marbling that you get on this effect. So let's do that again. I'm going to just add a little bit more ink. I'm not going to add a whole bunch of water this time, and I'm only going to add the green back in. I'm not going to use the red because I still have some of the red left in there because a lot of the red got sucked up on the first card. And I'm going to go ahead again and spray just a little bit of the alcohol. Get the water moving, or the ink moving rather. Get our palette knife again and swirl, swirl, swirl. And as you can see, I still had a lot of the red left, so I didn't need to add any more red in there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab another piece of paper, again shiny side down, and I'm just going to gently start swirling it on my card. Look at that. Look at the marble effect you get. And I know you guys might have seen this like years ago, but you know, I get tickle pink when you go back and you revisit something and it's still as cool as it was the first time. Check that out. Look at all the marbling effect you get. And it's actually a little bit lighter too. So again, use your heat gun. It's going to move that heat around for you. So each time it gives you a totally different effect. Now you can go back in and you can still use some of the ink that's already on your palette if you want to. So now I'm going to use the dewdrops. In this one here, I'm going to add some red. So this one is going to be the Ladybug Memento dewdrop. And then I'm going to add some of the Pear Tart. I'm not going to put it right on top of the red because then I will mess up my ink pad. So I'm just going to kind of go around the red. You know, you can make this part as big or as small as you want it. It's up to you. I kind of started out large on this just because I wanted to make sure I can get the ink moving. This time I'm just going to use water. And I'm just going to spritz inward. Again, I didn't spritz right on top in the beginning. I spritzed on the outer corners first. I'm going to get my palette knife again and just start making some squiggly lines. Again, not trying to really mix the color, just kind of move the color together. Going to grab another piece of cardstock. Remember, always have your shiny side down. So I'm just going to push that in there and move it around. So as you can see with the water, it kind of spreads a little bit more than it did with just the alcohol. And as you can see, it gives you a lighter effect. It's not as deep as it was with the distress inks. So it's going to give you a variable on this one. And as you can see, even on the ink pad, on the craft sheet, it's lighter as well. So I'm just going to keep going in, grabbing some more of that ink. But look at the effect you get. That's a really cool marbling effect. So I'm going to set that aside first. And I'm going to grab my heat gun because I want to set this. So your paper is going to curl up a little bit, but you don't have to worry about that. If it curls too much, you can heat the back of it. And actually, before you put it on a card, if you want to set this paper between like two heavy books, it'll flatten itself back out. And sometimes your heat gun could do that as well. So again, really cool technique. A lot of marbling, but I want a little bit more. So I'm going to go right back into that ink. And again, see, it was heat set. So now I'm going to get a totally different look on this one piece of paper. So you see now I have a little bit more marbling on that. So again, I'm going to heat set that. Remember, you always want to heat set before you go back in and try to apply more color. I also think the next time I do this, I'm going to have my paper like in a little shoebox lid or something because the heat gun gets rather hot and you can burn yourself. So there you go. There's another cool way to make a design. Let's try it one more time, and I'm just going to use just green. And the second color green I'm going to use is bamboo leaves. So I'm just going to press that around the outer side. It really wouldn't make a difference on this one if you use the darker on top of the lighter. It's not going to mess up the ink pad. I'm going to spray this one with alcohol instead of the water. Going to bring back in my palette knife, kind of mix those colors together because they're both in the green family. I don't have to worry about, you know, it turning to mud. Going to grab another piece of the shiny cardstock, shiny side down, and move it back through that ink. So as you can tell, see here, the paper sucks up a lot more of the ink because it's alcohol and not water. So I'm going to get a lighter effect on this as well. You see that? Still pretty cool design, and it kind of pulls up a little bit on the ends of the paper, kind of paper kind of sucked it in a little bit more on the end, so you kind of get like a border around your piece of paper this time. So as you can tell, you're going to get different effects compared to, how much water, how much alcohol you use is going to affect like how much you get on the side compared to what you get in the middle. So I'm going to go right back in again with a little bit more alcohol, and I'm going to lay that paper back in because remember I've already used my heat gun. So that one is a little bit lighter. So you see how washed out that is? So let's go ahead and add a drop of the Distress ink right into that Memento ink. And let's see what kind of design we can get out of this. So that I'm mixing both of the products that I had earlier. So I'm going to mix the ink with the Distress ink. And I think we're going to get a totally bolder look out of this. Yeah, definitely. So you can see it's not as washed out, and I get a lot of the deeper color marbling in there because I use the distressed ink. So I'm just going to heat set that a little bit too. Now I have some areas that I'm missing, so I'm going to pop that back in there. And again, anytime you can use a heat gun, you can get a straw and blow your ink to kind of give it a different kind of marbling effect. But either way, like I said, every time we do this, you're not going to get the same look. Just going to finish drying that piece off there. Got something on my heat gun, some kind of plastic melted. Going to heat the back a little bit so I can get the curl out of it. And let me show you this up close. See how pretty that is? All right, our area is all cleaned off, and I'm going to show you some cards I've made. So here are two of the backgrounds that we worked on a little bit earlier, and make sure you stamp with Stays On ink. Otherwise your ink is going to run on a glossy cardstock. And the stamp sets that I used was Stampin' Up! Peaceful Wishes, and then from Stampabilities I used Merry Christmas and Season's Greetings. Perfect. Good and quick and easy way to get some cards done for the holidays. There's no excuse that you can't get your cards done. Easy background, you can do them with whatever colors you want with whatever sentiment. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Make sure to check out some of my other videos. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and make sure you subscribe. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today, and I hope everyone has a fabulous, absolutely fabulous and safe weekend. See you soon.